Welcome back to Recorder on the Wall, where it's no longer April, or won't be by the time you hear this. I'm your Papa Abbott Pete, and we're back to one of the books.
Taggerung.
And
This is
you
Jeremy.
are? Thank you.
He's the Taggerung.
I am dramatic and voice man. I have replaced Jeremy.
Oh, great.
I'm Matthias, and I'm normal compared to that.
Everyone is
Katie.
normal compared to an epic voice man.
I'm Katie, and Jeremy is interrupting me just like men interrupt women all the time. Just kidding.
Epic voice man interrupts all. He does not care for gender.
I'm Drew, and I'm still crying about the trivia episode.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, by the time we get this released, we'll actually have that poll live to see who actually won.
I'm also
And I
crying
do wanna
because
say-
they spelled Sable Queen wrong on the Redwall fandom wiki.
Oh, no.
It's the
I do
Sable
wanna-
Queen.
I do want to thank everyone for not stringing me up, as you previously attempted to do. So, you
See,
have
for
not
me, it's
ceased.
not about winning. For me, it's about semantics. Like, that was
Fair enough.
not a fight.
There's still time.
But yes.
Noted. So, yes, we are back to the books with the last book I read when it was still live and coming out in order. After this point, and this is my own experience, this book came out in 2001, I was pretty much done with the series. Why that is deals a lot of it with this book. I'm not saying this book is bad. It's arguably, from my own memories of it, and because we only do these in chunks, probably one of the better ones around. But just to give you this was 2001, so I was a junior in high school that fall when this book came out. And suffice to say, my taste in literature have matured. Obviously, I still appreciate these books because I wouldn't have bothered to start this many episodes of a podcast based on it. But there are points we want to address.
It's all been a ruse. He just wanted to get to this one to yell about it.
I like to think that in 2001, for some reason, Pete was just like picking up Dostoevsky. I was just like, yeah, no more Redwall.
I mean, I went to a Jesuit high school, not trying to brag, totally bragging. So,
Get you some Bible!
or better, really, really difficult academics. So, actually, was the kind of the big thing there. Yes, we are a Catholic high school, but yeah, I was reading a lot more adult things just for school alone, much less what I was being exposed to. So, that being said, Taggerung. Now, again, setting the stage here, when this book was coming out all the way back in 2001, both myself and my younger brother were on the way out of this series, but we were still interested enough to pick up the hardback. The big marketing gig of this book was that Brian was doing the reverse of what he did in Outcast. Now, you can make a credible criticism of the series that what gray characters we do get aren't very well explored. And to be fair, that's not incorrect. Morally gray characters tend to be rare, they tend to be minor, or serve a purpose to do something, and usually die off. The most, I think I can speak for everybody here, the one we've liked the most that we've come across has been Blighted, all the way back in Belmont.
Romska. Romska for me.
Yep.
Okay.
Romska was awesome.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe
Though if we're going with ones that actually lived through the end of the book, then yes, Blaggett.
Well, yeah.
The obvious exception to this rule of where they're only minor is Vale out of Outcast or Redwall. And if you haven't listened to those episodes in a while, we were not kind to that book. Now, admittedly, that has more to do with how the book is constructed versus what it does with that primary character. Vale himself, in that book, does not get enough time to explore why is he going bad when having been raised in a good environment.
Yeah, I think one of our constant comments on that book was it should have just been called Sunflash the Mace, and
Vale should have gotten his own book. So, frankly, that's something we've already touched on. I don't want to go into it because we've already covered Outcast. But as a point of view, Brian here, the whole thing in Taggerung was that he was taking a good creature and being raised as a vermin. Now, how this is going to work out, we're going to see. But we're also in one of the almost last books of pretty much the common continuity.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if this is not the last, Triss is the last book that has common characters from book to book.
I don't think
so.
I don't think
know.
Triss even does. I mean, there's like a vague mentions of previous characters, but I don't think.
Is
I
the
guess
next book, is the next one Triss or is the next one
Yeah.
Loamhedge?
the next one's
It's
Triss.
Triss.
It's
Wow,
Triss, then Loamhedge.
Okay,
I remember
wow.
because Taggerung was the last Redwall book to come out that I didn't purchase. The rest of the series here on, I bought all the books day of release.
Wow, that's awesome.
The last, the cutoff one for me, I think was Hyrule Lane. I think that was the last one I bought before trying to jump back in. And then there's still a few that I haven't read, but also I haven't read those on purpose because I wanted to read them for the first time for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think in go on. Sorry.
Now, just for clarification, though, the next book in publishing order, not chronological, is Lord Brocktree, then Triss.
No, Lord Brocktree was before Taggerung.
Oh, really? Oh, my
It was
bad.
number 13.
Okay, my mistake.
I've got the I've got the publishing order open right here. Brocktree was in 2000, then Taggerung in 2001.
I mean,
Okay.
it's not like I wrote a trivia questions and made a sloppy mistake that may have cost the winners their victory or anything.
Actually, you know what? Your mistake had nothing to do with it. I couldn't remember what type of creature that the Grimjaw was, so I just kind of remember the name of the creature of the sea monster that they fought. So you calling it a pike had nothing to do with my answer.
I was like,
I-
this is obviously
Just
a
gonna
trick
rip
question.
the scab off that old wound.
well, it started. KD, you started so slow because it was just like, that's not a pike. Wait a second. No, that's definitely not a pike. It's a sea creature. They said it was a sea serpent. Brian Jakes.
Yes, I was very passionate.
Yes, you were, and rightfully so. But let's get into it.
Yeah, I
Is
believe
anyone
this
else-
is a. I believe we're talking about Taggerung, not our podcast.
Okay.
I didn't do terribly. I'm not bad at trivia.
All right. That being said, does anyone else have any like where you were at this time this one came out?
Well,
I-
speaking of being passionate, this one I think is, although I do have distinctions between my favorite book overall and my favorite audiobook, but this one I think is my favorite book. And I don't know what I was like. I didn't read it when it first came out. I read Redwall, then Martin the Warrior, and then that kind of turned me off of the series for a bit, just because I was just so sad. But then my mom found this book for me at the library because she picked it out for me. And
why were you sad, Katie?
We all know the reason, Drew. Move on.
what?
Because of
I
the
said,
beat to death
I said,
joke.
why were you
Oh,
sad?
why was I
Katie?
sad? Okay, sorry. I thought you said
Joke
something
is
about us
dead,
breaking up.
Drew.
It's not dead
Much like
till I
Rose,
say
the
it's
joke
dead.
is dead.
A character died, okay? I wasn't
Hey.
expecting it. I was a dumb kid. It made me sad. Anyway, so this is the first one that kind of got me back into the series, and I just have a lot of like warm fuzzy feelings of nostalgia about it, and I definitely see now that I'm reading wow, words. Now that I'm reading it again, I definitely see the issues that we can talk about, but this one is just, I just love it. And I'm not quite sure why, but I really love it.
Yeah, I remember being excited. I mean, this was when I was still very into the series. The first one I got when it first came out in paperback was actually Outcast, and then I just kept getting them as they came out on paperback because I didn't like carrying around hardcover books. But yeah, I remember reading this when it came out. I remember liking it. I don't remember any hype or anything behind it. I think I just saw like, oh, a new book is coming out. Cool. So I went into this with no real expectations.
Nice.
All that being said, let's actually get into it. Our book begins with a prologue, which, I guess that's to be expected at this point.
I really liked this prologue. I thought it was really charming and cute.
I think this is my favorite prologue.
Yep.
I like it, but there is an issue with it.
Violence.
We see Brian using a trope here that he's used several times throughout the rest of the series, and that is, hey, here's the recorder. I'm using this name for this recorder. I will use it again at the end. Only at the very end, I reveal who this character actually is, and it is somehow significant to the overarching story. It's like, it's not so bad that I can point to each and every single instance of this and say, it was done here and here and here, and this is why it's terrible. But the fact that I looked at that after finishing the prologue, I looked at the name and it was like, wait a minute, flipped to the end, and it was like, yep. And I took issue with it, means that it was overdone just enough.
See, I like that. At the end, we find out it's actually one of the characters from the story. I think it's better to find out that it's a character from the story at the end, though, rather than at the very beginning, because then it's like, well, we know this character is going to survive.
I love it. I like that trope a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really minded that.
I don't mind it. I think he used it one too many times. If he had used it
use it
in one
several
less
times.
instance. Yeah.
I like how much personality she has, though. I think Rosabelle, even though like she's not really a character, has a fantastic voice.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think it's a very well written section. I mean, yeah, the as far as prologues go, one of the best. But the fact that this trope was used and I just noticed it annoys me. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there's something here that I think is wrong.
But it also has
That's what
a
we do on
really
this podcast.
cute. It has a cute picture of a squirrel with their head buried in a book.
Aw.
So
It's
I'm
very
I like it. Very, very, very good. 10 out of 10.
Would read again.
Yes.
That being said, this first part of the book is actually one of the shorter sections we've ever covered.
It definitely
Not-
is.
Not
It's definitely
it's
the
only
shortest
5
book
chapters.
one. It's definitely
Yeah,
the
no,
shortest
God.
book one. So
I'd have to actually call up Legend of Luke, or the original, for that matter, to see if this is shorter than their book 3s.
yeah. Well, that's why I said it's the shortest book one.
Oh,
that we
absolutely.
did. Yeah.
To this
But,
book's
yeah,
credit, we'll cover it in plot here. But since there is a time skip, rather than happening in one of the major sections, it's a split between individual books, and I applaud that because that's actually something good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
like
mean,
that.
there's really not a lot he could have done past what he did. With like, we'll get into it later, but I kind of liked how he like kind of tied everything together at the end.
That is just going to lead into
How anthropomorphic are they?
how anthropomorphic are they? Well, pretty much answers it right away because book 1's art is a character we're about to meet, Rolfag and the young Dana. Is that how they say it in the audiobook?
Dana, yep.
Dana. There goes younger Pete's pronunciation in his head for God knows how many years of Denya, but whatever.
What the?
Well, you know.
But
It's
hey,
okay to be wrong. Like about
Yeah.
trivia questions.
Oh no.
Move on!
Critical blow.
You've got a
So-
bigger grudge than I do.
I was
So-
the one that bet all our points.
That's
So that leads us into a discussion we briefly mentioned in the last major book review, and I'm blanking. Moral Fox,
yes.
where I mentioned, hey, these characters are totally these guys that aren't even named yet. And what is this guy's mention? That is Juska Vermin. Did I say that right?
Jessica in the audio.
Jessica Vermin. And if you listen to those episodes, I bring up, hey, these random couple of vermin that are tattooed. Well, they must be Jessica. Well, what are Jessica? Well, frankly, they're Dothraki. Fine.
They're what?
It's a Game of Thrones joke. So, It's a game, or Decepticons for all it matters, because their whole thing is that there are a number of clans that want around the north and west of Mossflower, probably away from Salamanderstron if they want to, live, and their whole thing is that Brian lists them as quote unquote dry land pirates, they're thieves, vagabonds, whatever you want to call them, and their whole thing is that each clan is represented by tattoos that have the same color and shape structure within the clan.
Thank you for describing them as something I would know, which is Decepticons. Unfortunately, now, whenever I read Antigra's lines, they're going to be in Starscream's voice.
Maybe you're wrong. Yeah. And Juska apparently have a code of conduct, which primarily is only really referenced here, that they really pay attention to their seers when they have them, and that anyone can claim leadership by just challenging the big bad. So yes, Antiga is Starscream. We begin with Ferret Sawney Wrath, who leads the Jessica Wrath clan, and that's the other thing about Jessica is, that's the other thing it outrightens. Each clan is named after its primary leader, Jessica. So in this case, leader Sawney Wrath leads the Jessica Wrath. Fair enough. And their tattoo style is a black stripe down the center of their head and red dots alongside that. Okay. That's fine.
I kind of like that. The whole, like, these tribes have their own distinguishing tattoos and things like that. I don't know. We don't see it very often in this series. Like, we don't see physical indications of what group they're with. Like, the only one I can really think of was the blue fur in Lord Brocktree.
Yeah, or the red rapscallions.
Mm-hmm. And how every Redwaller has a eyebrow piercing.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Good point.
We can begin with Wrath, and he has his own seer, Gristle, the vixen. And, he... this relationship with Gristle, can this marriage be saved? They fight they argue like an old married couple. I'm sorry, they do.
He follows what she says, I mean, he questions all of her cooking abilities, but he definitely respects her visions.
I think there's a reason, though. It is shown that he has a poor stomach, and I mean, I can find that relatable as somebody who's had stomach troubles most of my life. It's if you can't physically eat something and someone's putting down something in front of you you've never had before, you're going to be rather picky about, what you put in your mouth, because it's like, is this going to cause me discomfort for the next X amount of time?
At the same time, though, you get the impression that she cooks for him often and that he's not grateful about it, and that she's like, what do you mean? I cook for you all the time. This is fine. And he's like, so,
Can this marriage be saved? Because this is basically,
To be fair, it's less hostile than Negru and Silva Mord. So
yes.
At least these two aren't openly threatening each other or sending spies to try to stab each other. So
battering and clogs, not friendship. So
and I gotta say, Sawney Wrath is, outside of being a picky eater, he does feel a little bit more relaxed with his authority than some of the other villains we've seen, where we get a character shortly that challenges him to a fight, and at first he's like, look, dude, no, just back down, it's fine, I'll let you go, you have a kid. Whereas if this was Farago, that guy would be eating a knife in 2 seconds.
They have a code of conduct, it seems like it says it's ruled by superstitions, and you'll see kind of later in the book that they have these customs they have to follow.
I like how earlier, though, they're like, hey, or wait, no, it's a little bit later where they're like, hey, what about Redwall Abbey? Should we attack that? And he's like, no, that never works out. Stop talking about it.
And he names 2 villains that actually didn't try to attack Redwall, and my bird clock is going off. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Farago the
Shut up,
assassin.
bird.
He didn't do that.
Yes. Okay. Shut
I
up,
do
bird.
want to touch on that
You-
point.
Even Sonny thought that Redwall was featured too much in Salamandastron that he forgot where Farago was attacking.
Yes.
But yes, for reasons we're about to get into, Sonny Wrath has good reason to at least head in the direction of Redwall, but he wants nothing to do with it. Which, given he only has about 60 warriors on hand, probably smart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, one of his own major people mentioned, as we've already named her, is Antigra, who is a female stoat and who has her own newborn, Zan.
This is what I immediately wrote for Antigra after like her first 3 lines of dialogue. I said, she's the anti-Bluefen. She's loud and obnoxious, and unfortunately, I notice her.
So,
Yes.
Starscream. Got it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, my turn.
Yeah.
Antigra wants to be a tiger mom, but she's really more of a Magikarp. Or to put it another way, I can see her saying something like, "Look, my baby is such a talented drummer. He's banging on pots." Something that literally every child has ever done. Ever. He's talented. He's gonna make me rich. Sure.
He's crawling. He's so talented.
I'm pretty sure he's alive.
So you're telling me she's one of these parents who insist that their child is the best at everything, and how dare you question them? And oh my God, I'm having flashbacks to when I was teaching full time.
Oh no.
She's like one of those beauty pageant parents.
Yep. Or the soccer mom that's like, "Put little Timmy in. He's great." And little Timmy can't even like kick properly, doesn't seem interested, and wants to instead, I don't know, talk about Pokemon with his, teammates or whatever.
Yep.
It's like,
She's the one that's yelling at the coach and asking why he's not putting in her kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm reminded of the first few passages in Matilda by Roald Dahl about where he's fantasizing about what kind of stuff he would write on a report card if he were a teacher. It's like, your kid is really dumb.
So basically, yes. And Tigra's whole thing is she's demanding her son be named as quote unquote the Taggerung, aka the title drop. Taggerung is a quote unquote vermin concept, and basically Sears read omens that totally means this one warrior gets to lead any and all Juska. Okay. But there's a catch that anyone who kills the Taggerung gets to become the Taggerung in their place.
There
So
can be only one.
I didn't get it that it was like a leader of the Juska. I think it was just like a really revered warrior because Sonny was still the leader of the clan.
Maybe I have that wrong.
I'm just
I
not.
think they're just like a super. Like his father was the previous Taggerung, and I think he just happened to be the leader.
Yeah.
it's like Martin the Warrior, but for vermin, and you can get it by killing the previous one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, they basically Antigra's like, my kid's the Taggerung, and Gristle and Sonny are like, no, he's not.
Your kid is the
So-
tag-along.
Oh.
Dang.
Ouch.
So Antigra, like any parent who's just been thrown off a field by the referee for trying to interfere in the soccer game,
Calls from the car. Honey, you better yell at that ref for me.
as she takes it well because she literally gets her husband to challenge Sonny, and that goes where we leading earlier.
Yep.
And Sonny
Which-
Rash just like he's like, "Oh, Groovin, you really want to challenge me here? I mean, we know how this is gonna go."
Yeah. And Groovin's like, no, I'm totally gonna fight you. He goes, all right, hang on, let me just get thwip dead.
Yep. She's
Play
like,
stupid
oh, hey, Groovin.
Hey, Groovin, you all right? You all right?
Yeah.
Hey,
I will
Antigra. Play stupid games, win dead spouses.
say-
Wah, wah, wah.
I will say this. Sonny does say that he doesn't want to kill Antigra because he doesn't want to kill a baby's mother.
Yeah.
Which
Like that-
makes him better than what's his name?
Fargo?
Swart.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
He's totally fine with killing babies' fathers, as we will see, but mothers,
yes.
apparently those are off limits.
Mm.
So wait, you're telling me that Sonny Rath, leader of a clan of Jessica Vermin,
Mhm.
is like actively trying to prevent orphans? What's going on
What?
here?
Huh? What?
They have a
Because he's
code
not
of
killing
conduct.
both parents. He's only killing one.
Yeah.
He's the
So-
nicest vermin we've seen.
Yeah.
Sonny also has the same level of daddy issues that Damek did for his father.
You're not wrong.
Anyone else notice that?
Yeah.
My daddy
Uh-huh.
was the toughest Taggerung around, but now he dead.
Yeah. Gristle brings him up, and Sonny's just like, my dad's dead. Do you mind?
Much like that kid over there, my dad's dead.
Excuse me, I don't need exposition about my own father. Oh, no, I'm expositing for the audience. Oh, please still shut up about my father. I don't care.
Gristle's
Yeah.
such a talented seer, she can break the fourth wall.
Yes.
I like in her speech about the Taggerung, she's like, "You already know this, but I'm gonna tell you again. The Taggerung is a warrior, and we revere him as a tribe." And Sonny's like, yeah, that is a fact."
It's like in the Long Patrol where that one guy explains the sword to Damug, and Damug's like, "Yeah, I know this. Why are you telling me?"
Gristle was like, so we're gonna find the new Taggerung in Mossflower near Redwall. Wait, what? Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Sonny's like, okay, but we're not even touching Redwall because
Yeah.
and Gristle's like, yeah, but the new Taggerung's gonna come from Redwall. Wait, what? And
Sonny's like, "I swear to God, if it's a ferret with 6 claws, I'm gonna scream."
also, if this ends up being one of their kids, we're not doing this because they're known for long hands of vengeance.
We
He's like,
touched
"How
on
do you
it
think
earlier.
they keep those stones so red?"
I mean,
We
I've
touched
heard
on this-
about this weird fox, and yeah, he kind of didn't make out very well when he stole several of their kids.
He fell
touched
down
on
the
this-
hole.
We touched on this earlier,
Mhm.
but the fact that he lists, several vermin horde leaders who, it's like they didn't do well against Redwall, and it's like, well, not every one of them fought Redwall. What are you doing? I realized after I read that, it's like, of course, these are stories that have been passed down by vermin. They've played telephone enough that it's like it's all gotten garbled. So the name's right, and the fact that they were a leader was right, but what they were attacking and why probably muddled over literally hundreds of thousands of retellings.
And there's Farago in the Dark Forest, like, oh, come on, man.
At least
least
it wasn't Gabul or Ublaz. It's like
Yeah, people who never
they
actually
never
showed
left their
up, yeah.
islands.
I feel like Clooney would definitely be like the most infamous one that they would know of, because at least out of the books that we have seen, like out of the stuff that has been shown in books, he's the first big name to be taken out by Redwall.
Mhm.
Nothing against Grey Patch and Mariel of Redwall, but
So then basically Sony's like, okay, well, yeah, I guess we'll just go to Mossflower Wood, and we're gonna leave no trace. Oh, and I want to be there early just in case any of the other Juska seers have had visions. Now, Gristle herself, as the ill-defined what makes up a seer and what actually counts, appears to be legit. Like we've seen seers in the past who are clearly lying through their teeth. We've seen seers in the past who we have no idea where their powers are coming from. And, don't pay enough for the Seer Plus. But how's that going over there, Magnus? Oh, you're dead? Okay.
yeah. Getting reception. Martin saw that he was stealing cable and was like, "Nope, I'm going to put a stop to that."
But Gristle...
Well, the seer in Outcast, I forgot her name.
Nightshade.
Nightshade was pretty on it too, except for like near the end where she started seeing Bella in her visions. But she also, even she was confused, but she's like, all my visions said that Swart was going to kill Sunflash at Salamandastron, and that didn't happen. I don't know what we're doing now.
I'm sorry, but your Mossflower credit card has been rejected.
Your 30-day trial has expired.
Yeah, your 30-day free trial. Now all your visions will be marked with unregister Hyperseer 2.
So chapter 2.
Before we go there,
Uh-huh.
two things. First, I like the fact that Gristle, in dealing with Swart, is she doesn't try to like lead him by the nose, either through deception or through flattery. She basically has this almost motherly approach. And
Yeah.
it is pointed out that she is like supremely ancient. So, I mean, guess that makes sense. But the way that she approaches dealing with him and acting as the basically number 2 for the clan is different than in any other book we've seen so far.
So you're telling me that she's Jason's mom, according to Jeremy's voice talents.
Not nagging enough.
You got a point. Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah.
Then the other thing, just out of interest, I was looking at Sonny Rath's page on the Redwall Wiki, and there was an interesting footnote that Sawney was an old derogatory term for the Scottish used by the English, and it's now considered to mean foolish. Rath is the Gaelic term for a round dugout fort. Taken together, this could mean his name translates to foolish fort, or, more appropriate for his character, false security.
Oh, nice.
Dang.
I thought that was a really interesting little comparison there.
Yeah.
Somebody who's just a little bit too overconfident, and that will be their downfall. So I guess we shall see when we get to book 2.
No spoilers.
Spoilers!
Spoilers.
So that gets into proper chapter 2. Again, how anthropomorphic are they? The hedgehogs are on 2 feet and wearing clothes. So yeah, very.
This little scene always made me super happy because we have this grandfather hedgehog talking to his 2 grandchildren. And this is a really good way to give the reader information about how much time has passed without going into the whole, I'm the recorder and these are the people that are still alive.
Yes.
Yep.
We have in continuation of the Spearback bloodline.
Yay.
So
Yep.
all the
I like the Spearbacks. They're cool.
Yep, it's referenced. They're referenced. Hey, remember Gurgen? No.
Yep.
Well, no, he was very dead long before my mom was born.
He's
Okay.
He's this grandfather's great-great-grandfather. So that shows, man, a lot of time has passed since the Long Patrol.
And Krega is old.
Oh yeah.
Well, Song. Well, not only are pretty much Song and Dan are dead. I think Krega may be the only living character from that book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I like
according
the fact-
to... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Go
I like
ahead.
this one. Okay. Just the going back and forth as Drug Spearback is telling his grandkids all about, the Abbey and Krega. And it's like, well, Krega's what you'd call the last of the old uns. I think she's older than some of the trees hereabouts. It's like, Egbert says, "Whoa, she must be 11,000 seasons old." So it's like, that's official. Krega is 11,000 seasons.
Works for me.
I mean, given we're not really we're still unsure of how long a season is actually supposed to be in a creature's life. Although we get a pretty big tip off yet to come. Although there's no consistency about that. Krega is definitely elderly at this point. Where in the last book she was definitely middle aged, maybe arguably 50s. She's definitely poking 70 or 80s by this point.
Oh, I would say 90s even.
Yeah.
She's
I think
really old.
she's pretty close to how old Bella was in Outcast.
Mm-hmm.
like definitely around that area. Though I feel like she's a little bit more active than Bella was.
For reference, although I don't want to spoil how, we will find out how old, in contrast to her adopted son, Rosano is before the end of this book.
This is true. And I'd like to point out Arvin gets a mention, and he gets about as much character development in this book as he got in the Log Patrol.
Oh,
Yes.
Arvin.
I would
'Cause
say
he-
poor
yeah.
Arvin, but I mean, everyone just please remember him as Tansy Pansy Toogle-Doo.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I prefer to remember him, as the kid,
Agreed.
not the Ben Stein warrior. So.
One of the things I really liked about this chapter, there's a lot of just charming, cute stuff so far, where the Dibbins are playing in the light of the stained glass.
Aw.
And
Yeah.
that was so cool. And they're like, "Oh wait, this one's blue. I'm in the water. I'm drowning. You need to help me." And they like pull him into like the green one, and that was just so cute.
Yeah, it's great.
We also have these young kids and their grandparent are like, "Hey, so that baby born yet?" And I'm like, "Wait, what? What? They didn't get him out of the Cabbage Patch? What?"
You gotta see the baby.
Yeah, we have a literal birth that happened earlier this morning,
Yep.
and we have a otter family with all of the parents. And
I'm sure they'll be
What?
fine. They'll be just fine. It's fine. Everything's
Well,
fine.
Yeah, I'm sure this kid's gonna grow up super happy with both of his parents.
Yep.
This is unprecedented. Both a mother and a father.
no,
What's
I mean that
next?
happened last book with Song.
And they were all
What's
fine. They were
next?
just fine.
Yeah.
Strawberry trees.
There was an entire family in Mossflower, the Stickle family.
Yeah, they were fine.
God, I just realized that I think they're like they're one of the only intact complete families in this series.
There's this.
I
there's
mean,
a lot of
Matthias
families in
and
this book.
Cornflower had family, so
Yeah.
This is true. Huh.
But like these two little hogs, they have a mom because it says your mom is gonna if you're late for dinner or whatever, your mom is gonna spank you or something. So they have a mom at least.
Dang.
But they mention nothing about Dad.
They mentioned that is true.
Oh, he's fine. He's off on his nature walk with Mr. Squirrel.
Yeah.
He went out foraging and never came back.
So yes, we have a complete otter family. I don't think they're directly Abbey residents, at least not deliberately, because Skipper and the Mustar Holt show up later looking for them. So not quite sure which is which, but we have Florin the mom, who is
Lauren. Yeah.
Philorn,
Lorne.
who is not only did she have a kid this morning, she's up and walking after it. And
Yeah.
okay, I mean, yeah, we can make an argument that other animals on Earth are a lot faster to recover, and you can
Yeah.
make a fair argument. But these are anthropomorphic animals, and I'm not going to get into this because it's going to break my brain if I think too hard about it. We have her husband, what's his name? Real
Real
Fag.
flag.
Real flag.
Real flag.
And they have an older daughter. And I say
Yeah.
older, she's a toddler, clearly.
She's
Yeah, I would
older
say
than a
maybe
toddler.
maybe 6 or 7. I would
Okay.
think.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And they have their newborn son, who we mentioned earlier. Thana.
Yep. And the daughter's Mira. I don't know if we've mentioned her name yet. Mira.
We did not. Yeah. It's kind of so yeah. And yeah, it's a happy family. And see, the baby is out and interacting with other people because you're not supposed to do that when you have a kid.
Whoa.
Animals.
I know, animals. But yeah, and yeah, it's a happy family. So Dad's like, so now that he's born, and we shouldn't totally wait this out at least a day or two, or 2 or 3 weeks to let the kid grow a little bit. We gotta take him to a stream or river where there's a current. And Mom is
Sounds
obviously like, no, we're not.
And the dad's like, yeah, I am. And that's the end of that argument.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. This is the setup for the orphaning. Pattering?
No.
Pet orphaning? I don't know.
Real Flag is like, look, there's 2 surviving parents right now. That's gonna change, and I'd rather you be the one to survive.
Wait, what?
Heroic sacrifice.
Yep. Dang, one of us has got to go, and hey, you've already had way more screen time and dialogue than Martin's mom, so you know.
Aww.
Well, that's not untrue.
No.
We're also told the newborn kid has a birthmark. It looks like a 4-leaf clover.
I think he just has the Triforce of courage.
Yes, which was mentioned earlier in Rasul's vision.
It
He
was.
said, yep, and it was funny because my dad was reading this book at one point, and I happened to be with him when he was listening to this part, and he just gasped really dramatically. He's like, "The chosen one! He's the chosen one!" I'm like, yes, Dad.
Yeah,
Oh, wait. It's supposed to look like it's the mark of a flower. So would that make it the Triforce of flower?
He has flower power. He's gonna be a hippie when he grows up.
Dude.
He's gonna get some salamander strain.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yep.
So yes, Dad's basically like, yeah, I'm just gonna take him to the stream, let water run over his back, and then makes him a real otter.
I'm gonna take him to the plot point.
Yeah.
You mean Saint Ninians? No, that burned down.
Yeah.
We're tired of that plot. We then get a discussion among like the elders and kind of temporary leadership of the abbey, and we find out yet again there's no abbot or abbess.
Yep.
Really? Did everybody
dun,
suck that
dun.
much that song didn't point a successor?
Yes.
No, Martin has to appoint the successor.
I thought
No, he doesn't.
I thought Martin appoints like the warrior successor, but like the abbot or abbess usually is like what's his name? The one from Redwall that dies at the end. Anyway, Mortimer. He appoints Alf Mordalfus as the abbot. Like,
yes,
right
but that was book 1, you see, and in book 9, Martin appoints Tansy, and in Marl Fox, Martin appoints Song. So Martin now does it.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I'm pretty sure Saxtus got like a normal transition
Yes,
over.
it's not mentioned. Martin could have done it off screen, but it's not mentioned.
Where you been, Martin? Huh?
But yeah, I feel like they would have thought ahead about this sort of thing. Like, you know, Song was getting up in age and be like, hey, Song, maybe you should try to appoint a successor. I mean, like I said, unless everybody was that terrible that she was like, no, none of you are worthy of becoming an abbot or abbess, so I'm just going to die without appointing one.
Or she
Yeah.
died
There is-
suddenly.
There's
Which
one other
actually-
option. Yeah, she could have died suddenly, and it was just like, well, you know, I'm planning on it, but we'll see about doing it at the changing of the next season. And oh, sorry, dried itch fever.
Yeah.
Well, that is what
Heart
happened to
attacks,
Arvin. But then like they do bring up the whole like needing a champion too, which we saw what happened last time when they didn't have a leader and a champion, and unfortunately Jangler isn't here to be awesome.
Yeah.
And like the statement is like, don't worry, the dead guy will choose our Abbey Warrior. What, do you think we're just gonna give the sword to some random schmuck that walks through the front gate? That'll never happen.
Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Redwall has elected abbots or abbesses in the past when the successor wasn't appointed.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason they couldn't have done this, whether it's this book or the last one. Now,
I
where
feel
in the
like
last
they're
book,
lazy in this one.
in the last book, they at least outlined like, look, we really don't have a good choice here. We can just run on an acting basis until we know what a good one is. And okay, that's how we get Song. Fine. Here, no, you clearly have some pretty high officers who could serve.
Yeah, in this one they just kind of feel lazy about it. They're just
Well,
like,
it's
well,
how-
things are okay, whatever.
I
As
think
Outright
it's
said,
'cause-
that Frege is very much acting abbess until they can figure something out. Okay.
And even she is like, look, I don't want that position. We all know what happened the last time I was a leader of anything, and well, you know, but she said, like, look, she even says that she's too old and that she's like, I'm content with being the go-to person, but I'm not the right person to lead the entire abbey.
The way I look at it is this.
Hmm.
Krega oversaw the abbey before Song, and now she's overseeing it after Song, which gives her even more reason to not want to be abbess in title. Because, I mean, honestly, do you really want a badger ruling both Salamandastron and Redwall Abbey?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Insider trading.
In place of an abbess, you could have a queen, terrible as the dawn.
But if you also look at it like this, Krega is the stand-in, so she is the minimum marker that any new leader has to be measured against. And if they come up short, it's like, okay, do we really want that person to be leading when we already have somebody who's doing essentially the same job, only better?
It just seems like a really obvious thing that they could have solved, but as Jeremy mentioned, they're kind of lazy. Now, here's one thing to one credit I will give that one of the sisters brings up. What's her name?
Alcanet?
Sister's like, okay, but if we get a vermin army on the path over the next hill, yeah, we kind of need a warrior. And everyone's just like, yeah, that's true, but this is more of Martin's gig. Oh, okay, yep. Okay, I'll grant them that.
Martin is usually the one to nominate a champion if they don't already have one. So that there's at least precedent for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of breaking precedent, we have a female formal.
Yeah.
What?
Roll, right?
Brol, yep.
It's outright said it's unusual for the moles to have a female leader, but Brol was solid as a rock and full of good common sense. Okay, make her abbess.
Well, she's already formal. I mean,
Yeah, that's a different duty.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a formal position.
Oh, no.
Ding, pun counter.
Thank you.
That is a good point, though. It's all the qualified people might already be in positions that they are suited to. You know, Skipper's the skipper of otters. Formal leads the moles. The respective, like friar, infirmary keeper, recorder, they all have their appointed roles. So unless they have somebody that can step in to take their place, they have to keep doing their job on top of already being the leader. So
Well,
it
though
doesn't
there
make
is,
sense.
I think there is precedent for that. At least Saxtus, I think, was both abbot and recorder in Bellmaker.
Yeah. That's the only occurrence of that, though, so maybe they tried that out, and Saxtus is like, this is kind of terrible, you guys. This is too much.
He's like, look, I'm just going to start writing about how awesome of an abbot I am if you guys don't pick someone else to do this. And then Saxtus saved the day by...
Yes.
Oh no, Saxtus writes fanfic about himself.
I do want to point out that it's probably the only unsensible person here is Friar Bob. Because he's the one... I know, but he's the one just like, who is basically, oh, Redwall's never been defeated, so what are you guys so worried about a vermin army coming to the next hill? You merely... Okay, in the books 1 and 3, Redwall and Manameo, although we made fun of it in Manameo, the bad guy won except for a last minute counterattack.
Yeah.
See, it's a last minute. See, that's all that they will remember, though, from history. We won. They don't remember the moments before that.
History is written by the victors. Though, you know what? I'm sure we will not see a last-second victory that'll save the Abbey from total doom in this book.
No.
Twice in 2 books? No, of course not.
It's not going to happen in this one.
It seems improbable.
So, chapter 3.
Yeah, but basically nothing gets solved. They're like, just like, okay, we're just going to keep going on. Okay. Chapter 3 is not going to have any sadness whatsoever.
No.
Of course not.
In the arms of an angel.
Oh, I'm just dying to read chapter 3.
Oh no.
So chapter 3, Sonny and his tribe are kind of close to Redwall, and he's like, "Don't set up camp. I'm gonna head out with a couple people. We're gonna come back, and then we're getting that dark forest out of here."
So no fires, no cooking.
Yeah.
Just stay ready to move.
And he flat out tells like the guy he leaves in command, it's like, if I swear, if I come back and stuff isn't done right, I'm gonna kill you.
So what you normally say, boss.
Yeah. He's like, no, but I will extra kill you. I'm gonna have fun doing it.
By the way, we do get Rofag being an indulgent father, and I admit it's nice to see this.
Yeah, him singing to the baby and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? I will say there are a decent amount of songs in this section of the book, but I actually like them because they all fit in with the story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that just means Sonny and his smaller crew find Rofag. Oh.
The thing that really burnt it was when it, like, Real Flag, when he left the Abbey, I think one of the lines was like, "Life was so good."
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
I got
Ending
a
a
new
chapter by
son.
declaring life is good is never a good sign. That's
Nope.
tempting fate.
And Real Flag even's like, "Hey, I found some water shrimp. I'll take them back to we can take them back to the Abbey and have water shrimp and hot root soup." And why is that guy aiming a bow at me?
Yeah.
Gristle's just like, oh, I don't know who that is. You can take him out. Okay.
He's like, "As you've seen, I have I won't kill moms, but I'll kill any dad that gets in my way."
I have a thing against dads, okay?
I honestly, I think you're right that Sonny has dad issues.
Yeah. Yep.
So they kill the guy, and I'm pretty sure Sonny has made it clear to his group that, like, hey, we're here for a specific thing. It's this baby. Don't hit the baby. Meanwhile, dumb Felch the fox goes and raises it, like, gets bit by the baby, gets pissed, and is about to kill it with his axe, and then is surprised when Sonny stabs him.
Yeah.
Felch obviously didn't listen during the mission briefing.
I was gonna
Apparently
say,
not.
How much detail did he go? Did he mention to his crew that he was going to get a Taggerung? Or did he
Yeah,
kind of keep that secret? Okay.
Yeah, because I felt like he shouted it a lot in chapter 1 about, like, there was going, like, Gristle even said, there's going to be a Taggerung, and
Okay.
I feel like he would have at least told the group that was with him, like, hey, don't kill this one specific thing that we're after.
Yeah.
Do not kill this baby or any
Yeah.
baby, maybe.
Yeah, Sonny's like,
maybe.
look, I feel bad that I have to explain this, but please don't kill the baby. I know
Yes.
you guys are dumb, but don't kill the baby.
But boss, it bit me.
Yeah. And then, like, later on, Felch is even like, I only looked at him the wrong way. Dude, you were about to cleave him in half. Like,
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for you.
I mean, come on, Felch. Haven't you ever done an escort quest in a video game?
What
Felch
is
the kind
video
of guy
game?
that plays Resident Evil 4 and uses Ashley as a human shield. And then wonders why he keeps getting game overs.
So yes, they're like, hey, we found this other kid. Hey, he's got the sign of the four-leaf clover. Oh, neat. Well, he's gonna be adopted then.
Let's get the heck out of here.
Yep.
And he even says, like, if you don't leave now, a bunch of bloodthirsty Redwallers will be on your tail to extract vengeance.
All right.
Which, he's not wrong. Like, I can imagine younger Krega would have been like, you stole baby, you must die.
Then.
Trees would be knocked down as she charged
I
out.
mean, we established last time Raventail just had tea and scones with Krega, and they just chalked it out at the end of that book, right?
Of course.
Right.
Sure. If I talked it out, it means she ripped out his tongue and beat him with it.
Dang, Craig.
That's violent.
Cutie.
Huh?
Puny
Yes.
ferret.
They also get Gristle, who renames Dana, and I'm sure this won't be undone later. But she's like, he's Zan Jessica Taggerung. Yay!
And
Yay.
Antigua
Okay.
is like, but that's my kid's name. And Sonny's like, not anymore, it isn't.
We're gonna change
you
the
know-
birth certificate right now.
I don't feel bad for Antigua here. You don't countermand your leader unless you have a really good reason or they specifically ask for criticism. Otherwise, don't do it.
But he's like, now why don't you name your kid after his dead, dumb father? She's
Yes.
like, okay.
Oh, but he's just like, it's either that or I bury you here. Don't look at me like that. I will.
So I guess he doesn't have anything against killing moms. All right.
Or their
If
kid.
they're annoying enough.
Yeah.
But as we previously mentioned, Antigra's the soccer mom
She's-
stereotype. So
She's Starscream. It's like where Megatron always berates Starscream but never actually kills him, despite the thousands of times he betrays him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that Skipper is the next thing we see is it's 10 days later. Skipper and his otters return to Redwall, and they're not exactly in great mood because they haven't found Rofag or the missing kid.
Yeah.
Yep. I
And-
really like this though. I like how he didn't just gloss over it. I don't think he would, but like, you know, some of the things is like the death of a family member is sometimes taken lightly in children's books or any type of death at all. But like the mother and daughter are like grieving pretty heavily, and it's 10 days later and they're still grieving, which for a children's book is, hey, look, you're actually handling grief in a realistic way.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't like when Bluefen died and everyone was like, well, that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And Skipper is, as usual, he's the kind and tough leader of the Otters. And
Yeah.
honestly, I can't think of a bad Skipper in any of these books. He's always cool.
Hmm.
And I also like Broggle, the
Oh, he's
chef's
adorable.
assistant squirrel. He's
He
awesome.
is adorable.
Yep. And I like how he like when Skipper says like if you can spare anybody to help, and he immediately volunteers, is like, I'll help you out. And the friar is kind of a jerk. He's like, no, you have duties here. And Skipper goes, hey, if he wants to help us out, let's do it. And he even hands him his javelin. It's like, don't worry, we'll be safe with you around us.
I didn't see it as being a jerk. I just see him as I think Friar Bob is kind of fatherly toward Broggle. Like, hey, no, you're neglecting your duties. You know, like things like that.
Yeah, but like even then, it's like, hey, he's offering to go help find a dad and a baby. Like, come on, like
Yeah.
let him go. It's
I
not
don't
like you
think-
guys have like 15. If there were like 15 hares staying at Redwall, yeah, the kitchens can use all the help they can get.
Well, it's not like Friar Bob is going full Roosevelt.
No.
This is true.
God, no.
This is very true. Still a better dad than Roosevelt.
Oh.
Yeah, that's okay. That was a little hard. Okay,
Roosevelt does
better
get
dad,
better.
He
Better
gets
dad
better.
than Book One Roosevelt.
Thank
How's
you.
that?
Sonny Wrath is a better dad than Book One Roosevelt.
You know what? You're not wrong.
And that brings me to my other point I wanted to mention about Sonny Wrath in this first page, our first section. He actually is kind of fatherly to young Taggerung.
Yeah.
In Udania. And I'm not talking like in the normal vermin few fathers we see, where Farago at least valued Klitsch as his heir, but not really like in a loving point of view.
Yeah.
I'm talking, or maybe, or who else? Verdaga Green Eyes, at least,
Yeah.
playing the scorekeeper between his two children. But no, I'm talking legit. Like he's actually affectionate towards his kid.
Yeah. At first, I thought like maybe I just assumed that it was more about him caring about what Dana or Taggerung represents. But then when he says like, "Oh no, I'm renaming him to Tag my son," like, wow, he actually cares about him.
I got the impression that he kind of cared about him as a treasured possession, though, not necessarily as a kid. I mean, yeah, he says son, but he says my son. You know, like it's mine. This is mine. You know, things like that.
Mine.
Yeah, mine.
Well, I don't want to. Well, when we get to chapter 5, I'll go into a little bit more about why I think he honestly cares.
Fair enough.
I think we jumped into chapter 4 a little bit, but that's all right.
Yeah, we did. We do see a genuinely good scene where Krega is, you know, being a mom of her own right, where she goes to Mira and is just like basically helping to comfort her.
Yeah.
Like,
This scene made me misty-eyed. This was so sad, but it was like so touching. Oh,
Mm-hmm. There's another
like-
one coming up that also makes me cry every time, but
yeah,
haven't got
like
quite there yet.
Mira even says that she's trying to have like one last good cry so she can and like let out the rest of her tears so she can then be there for her mom. Like, oh,
Yep.
that's so sweet.
Especially at such a young age too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
estimated age around like 6 or 7. It's like that's a really, really mature stance to take for someone of that age. Because when I was 7, you know what I cared about? What was on TV when I got home from school and what I was going to be eating for my afternoon snack.
This kind of reminds me of my little niece. She's a darling. And when my grandma died a couple of years ago at her funeral, she was just going around to all of us adults that were, you know, getting teary-eyed and just cuddling up to us and like passing around this big box of tissues, like doing everything she could. She is just so sweet. Love her so much.
Adorable.
Yep.
you know, I'm just wondering if there's another version of this book where Mira basically transforms into a less broken version of Katniss Everdeen after the death of her father and becomes this really, really awesome warrior as a result.
Yeah.
And then really like right after this where Krega says like, hey, can you help me to my bed? And she's like, oh, you don't need help. And Krega's like, well, you know, everyone always comes to me. And I really liked the line where she says, old Krega can take care of this and old Krega can sort that out. But who is there to help old Krega?
Yeah.
It's a very, pardon the word, humanizing moment to see this ancient pillar of strength remind us that she's just as mortal as Mira is, regardless of whatever the plot says. But, you know, spoilers.
Yeah. So we also get, hey, you know, one thing we should do, let's have a feast, a summer friendship feast. And you know what? I mean, I would venture everyone in this podcast, we've all lost a relative at one point. You want to know one of the most common things to do in the wake of that? You throw food. You get people together to laugh so you don't cry. So
Did you say throw food? Because that would be awesome. Like let's have a big food
food fight. Yeah.
Food fight. Oh, there's a reason why it's called comfort food. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not good for you in any way, but it's good for you on the inside. It makes you feel better. That catharsis, that release of, I feel better emotionally having eaten something that means something to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Doubly so if it's a recipe that the person who passed used to make.
Oh yeah.
So that leads us into chapter 4.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to point out there was another line in this chapter that I really liked where Mira says to Krega, you can get a lot of things done in dreams. I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
So we have chapter 4, which again, I mentioned off going a little advanced, but yeah, Sonny is a seemingly a lot more parental towards Tag. He gives him a nickname. He's like, "Oh, it's my son," and where I marked it, yeah, he's. I mean, as far as Berman relationships go, it seems like he's almost being a good father, except he killed his other
The
father.
otters and the cradle and the silver spoon.
But I'm sure unfortunately, there's dissension among the ranks, big time.
Yeah, this is where Felch is like, I just looked the wrong way at the otter, and Sonny stabbed my paw. It's like, You were literally about to cleave him in two. He stabbed you through your paw to peg it to your axe that you were holding.
Yeah.
Like,
and even
and it's-
Tigger's just like, no, come on, man.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this,
Ugh.
And Tigra isn't bitter. No, absolutely not. Not bitter at all.
No.
Not at all.
She's like, I'll kill him. I will totally kill him. You probably don't want to say that too loud. I'm saying it as loud as I want to. I will kill you, Megatron. I mean, Sonny.
My baby is the best, and he'll prove that he's the best because it's my baby.
you know, it'd be ironic if Grooven actually grows up best friends with Tag, right?
That actually would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, I want that book now. I want that fan fiction.
Groovin' and
Fanfic authors, get
Tag,
on that.
you know? best friends for life.
But yeah, we also get Gristle's like, okay, we got a new Taggerung. I gotta do this ceremony to make it official. You know, because we can't fill out just the paperwork, but okay, we're gonna do a ceremony.
Paperwork.
No, in fair, Gristle does a chat to say, "Oh, this is the Taggerung," and she attaches the Jessica tattoos.
Yep.
And gets an extra lightning a tattoo of a lightning bolt in blue on his cheek to because Gristle thought it looked cool.
It'll make him go faster.
Gotta go fast.
Sonic the Tag Hawk.
Yeah, and they're gonna nickname him Tag.
Yep.
Tag, you're it. Haha, I made a pun.
I'm sure he won't get tired of that.
Ding.
Just because how I didn't when I growing up, I never got tired of the Peter Pumpkin Eater rhyme and wanted to scream at someone who kept saying it to me over and over like it was the funniest thing ever.
Hey,
Yeah,
at least
that's annoying.
at least you didn't share a name with a song by Pearl Jam that was about a kid killing himself in front of his class.
Oh boy,
Taken.
You've never heard the Pearl Jam song, Jeremy?
I have not.
Listen to it. People used to bring it up when I was a kid, and then I finally listened to it when I was in high school, and I was like, oh my god, this is a dark song.
Yeah, my name just gets mispronounced a lot because it's spelled weird. So that's basically my childhood.
I have
We
a
lost-
very common first name. I see my name everywhere. Such
Matthias,
is life.
huh? That's very common.
Really? Who'd have thought?
Well, maybe he goes to a lot of Red Wall conventions.
What do you mean that name tag was already taken?
So, all right, so yes, we get, what is it, Skipper? Yeah. Skipper and his otters are totally searching, and I'm both happy and not happy with this new character to come in. Because basically we already had this in the last chronological book. Where a hare who's more of a performer than for at least at first.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm a little indifferent about that much of it. I did make sure to note though that 2 books in a row with a comical hare instead of a military one. Though,
I mean,
granted, to be fair, we had so many military ones in the Long Patrol, and I think, like you guys said, Lord Brocktree was right before this one, so maybe technically it's not 2 books in a row, I guess. Or maybe Jake's just like, I kind of want to have more fun hares.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing against that. I'm just like, I'm just in my back of my mind. I'm like, and we learned from this hare is at least related to them at Salamandastron.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of what we saw all the way back to Long Patrol. Yeah, I kind of want to see regular Salamandastron hares at least check on the Abbey that it's still standing now and then.
Yeah. I would be cool if I think it would be cool if oh my god, I'm blanking. The major hare that was in Long Patrol, not Tamo.
Paragord.
Paragord. I think it would be cool if like a descendant of Paragord showed up. Because Paragord was awesome, and I can only assume anybody related to him is also awesome.
Well, he could be a descendant just from his, mother's side. Or his,
Sure.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Yep.
That didn't exactly make sense, but you guys knew what I meant, so.
Yep.
Absolutely. So Skipper and Broggle find him, and they basically find him making his own songs. Because not like there's vermin in Mossflower right now or anything. Oh, wait, they left. Never mind.
Yeah, they got the heck out of Dodge.
And he has an instrument that is like everything, all in one.
I
One
have
hair
all
band.
the instruments.
Yes.
So, crud. That means he's... Now I've got the image of Dick Van Dyke out of Mary Poppins. So,
Step in time.
I do like the fact that, like, how he gets the otters to carry his wacky instrument. Like, he goes, "Who are your two toughest otters?" And they're like, "We are." And he's like, "I bet you could carry that thing with me sitting on top of it." "We sure can." "Well, don't worry, I won't sit on top of it. Please carry that for me."
Yes.
neat, a valet.
Yeah. And they do it, and Skipper's like, "That was cool."
Yeah.
Skipper was even like, "You're not a fool, man. That was good."
Yes.
So we have
Boorab the
Boorab.
Fool.
Thank you. Boorab the Fool.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
compared to, although they didn't exactly pay the Noonville players in the last book, Boorab's like, "Oh, I don't take any payment, but you can totally feed me."
Yes.
Feed me.
Oh no.
And I'm sure, I'm sure we're gonna get jokes about hares eating, everything.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
Part and
So
parcel.
I like this next part where he sees that Broggle has a stammering problem and teaches him, and he's like, "Here, I can," genuinely just goes, "Here, I can help you with that," and helps him to start singing to stop stammering.
Yes, which is
And-
adorable.
Yep, which
It's adorable,
this
but
is-
it's also problematic.
problematic.
Yeah.
I'm sure this isn't how speech therapy works.
Well,
No.
so I actually have a real life example of this exact thing.
Okay.
George Burns, the comedian, he had a book, 100 Years, 100 Stories, and he actually told a story about a comedy partner he had who did have a stammering problem, except for when he sang. So he could sing perfectly fine, but when he talked normally, he had a stammering problem.
Right, and I just think, were you saying, Matthias, that it's problematic that he's cured of this eventually? Yeah, it's pretty quick that he's cured.
That I
Exactly.
definitely agree with.
Because the library I work at, we received, let's see, it wasn't too long after I started working there, a bunch of materials that were, I'm guessing, specifically donated for the express purpose of furthering knowledge about speech impediments, stuttering, stammering, all that jazz. And it covered a wide range. We got some DVDs, we got some young adult materials, some adult materials, and even some kids' books. And while shelving those kids' books, I flipped through, and the way they portrayed the feeling of having a speech impediment and the way people tend to act towards it, you could feel the discomfort, the disquieting of being shamed for something that you have no control over. And I can't help, after seeing those pictures portraying that feeling, I can't help but see this exact situation in today's climate not going over very well if this book was published today.
I
It would
totally
be-
get that.
It
Go
was
ahead.
over like that, just way too fast. If this was
Yeah.
something that it's like, okay, we're coming up to a time skip here. If it was something that you saw Boorab start to, work with him on, and then after the time skip, it's like, okay, everything's normal now. Sure, great, perfect. I don't have any issue with that. But yeah, it takes work.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that the thing I'm noticing is Jake's handles some disabilities really clumsily. Coming up in Loamhedge is what I'm thinking of, and also this one that just occurred to me when you were talking. And I think the reason that he handles blindness with such grace is that he actually interacted with blind people. So I'm wondering if he tried to write disabilities that, and who knows, he may have known a person in a wheelchair as well, or a person who had a speech impediment, but just the way he handles blindness seems different to me, because like I get a little annoyed at the feeling faces and the like super food sensing powers, but all in all, he handles blindness very, very nicely, and it doesn't offend me like a lot of literature does. So yeah, I maybe he just had more exposure to blind people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the way I remembered it actually was the stammering went away after the time skip. But yeah, no, I definitely agree that it is quote unquote cured way too quickly. All I'm saying is there is precedent in real life for someone who has a stammering issue that can actually sing without stammering. But yeah, I don't think that person was magically cured after singing all the time.
Yeah. And I have no doubt that this was probably a fan of the series that Brian interacted with that was like, can you please include a character that has some kind of, stutter or stammer? And he probably did that as a request, just for the sake of, making sure that this kid felt like there was a character that they could relate to. And it's like, that's great. But at the same time, don't just introduce a character, have them have a problem, and then get rid of that problem within 2 chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see elements of that in the future, briefly in spots, but it disappears way too quickly.
I don't disagree with anything you guys have said. It might have, if we had to rewrite today, maybe show Burab in the time skip we're about to see. Maybe he's learned to overcome it then, but just in this moment, yeah, it's less believable. All right, so, they've been like, hey, Burab, you want to go to Redwall? Do I?
Yeah.
Actually, it's more of a, hey, I'm going to this place called Redwall. Do you know it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I do like when Broggle mentions in song that he's the friar's assistant. Burab's like, oh, I gotta become friends with him then.
Yeah.
And Burab feels like a character straight out of a Disney film. Carefree attitude, hodgepodge outfit, ability to sing and play music so poorly, yet everybody loves him. Yeah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Can't talk. All hallmarks of a Disney character.
He ain't never had a hair like him.
No, no.
Please, Basil's still the prototype and my favorite. But I do want to point out when Burab meets Krega, he knows who she is, or at least through at least some unknown connection to Salamandastron. Oh, you're Lady. Oh, you're Lady Kroger Rose Eyes, ruler of Salamandastron, the warrior queen, Belle of the Blanket Buttereth. Hey, cut that out.
The last time I killed someone was... Oh, wait, the last story. Never mind.
Hey, just because I'm not leading the Salamandastron hairs right now doesn't mean I won't smack one around. Knock it off.
Oh, also, minor nitpick from Krega. We never mentioned that she should have only one ear. But she did lose an ear in Marl Fox that never comes up again.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, she also got an arrowhead to her neck. So...
Yes.
She had a lot of things done. Many things happened.
As pointed out on the Redwall wiki, when Buddy noted that she's missing an ear, that was the only point that was ever mentioned, so maybe he got that wrong.
Yeah.
How could you get that wrong?
Too much blood.
Oh, okay. Dark.
The conversation, like I said, Craig is just like, enough of that, and she actually, it's implied, she goes right into her old military voice, tells him to come to attention.
Yeah.
And Craig and Skipper step away for a second, and they're both laughing. They're trying not to laugh their butts off.
Well, Skipper tells her, why he's here, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna have fun with this one. And, yeah, we find out that one of his... parents or grandfather is Pie Face Bag Scut or something like that.
Who is not even a real thing from Long Patrol, I'm sorry. Or if he was, he wasn't mentioned.
Well, it's, you know what? Better a Bag Scut than a Fleet Scut.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, and +1 to the over-the-top hair name. That's
Yes.
Bagscut face right there, and he's like, that's B for Bellscut, O for Oglethorpe, O for Obrathon, R for Ragglewaith, A for Audubey, B for Bagscut, Marm.
I love that.
At least it's not Jod.
Yes.
Oh
Or-
yeah, I
Or what
forgot
was
about
it?
John.
Beauclair feathering Sol. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
Yeah, where he
Beauclair
couldn't
Feathering
even
Salt
remember
Cuss
his-
Sportingham.
There you
couldn't even
go.
remember
Only
his own
hair
name.
name that I can remember clearly.
Yeah. We're making a lot of references to Outcast Redwall. I just realized.
Yes.
Oh,
And Legend of Luke.
Yep.
understandably so.
Yep. So she says that she's going to put him on what is like a 1-season probation,
Yep.
which I'm sure it'll only last 1 season,
Yeah.
Oh,
and then we'll get extended at all.
Nope.
Meanwhile, so then chapter 5, this is the part where I realized that like I felt like Sonny was really caring about Tag, because Gristle is like feeding him food, and he's like, it's not too hot, right? Like he'll enjoy that, right? It's good, right? And he's like hovering around them like a mother hen. Like I think he honestly cares.
Yeah, I mean, does he care like for him or like don't hurt the Taggerung, must keep the Taggerung safe, gotta protect the Taggerung. He's our clan's treasured Taggerung. I don't know.
Well, you got the
I
Taggerung,
guess-
hooray!
Yeah, I
Um,
just can't.
you
I just
may
can't
not-
get over the fact that he killed the guy's father, and now it's
You may not be wrong about it because, and Tigger points out, hey, I have to leave my son behind just to get food
Mhm.
while you're while you're watching the Taggerung so closely.
Yeah. And he's like, but your son sucks.
well, I mean, here's a novel idea. The Vermin Horde presents their leader. Isn't that interesting and original?
We've never
I
seen
mean,
that
too,
before.
as much as I think Antigua really shouldn't have done what she did, I do have sympathy for her because her husband just died.
Yeah.
And
Eh.
granted, she isn't indirectly responsible for it, and her husband really could have backed down the challenge. But yeah, I do have some sympathy for her. At the same time, yeah, I mean, it's implied she's brought this up multiple times with the whole Taggerung thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm sure she won't ever. I'm sure she'll get over this and move along, and she won't ever act on it again.
Yeah,
And
she
Tigger's like
won't-
that family member you have that like presents like an opinion or whatever to you, and you try to disprove with facts, and she's like, but no, she just keeps going back to what she said before. And you're like, but we just went over this. This is why this can't be this way. And they're like, no, I'm still right.
Cell phones cause peanut butter allergies.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Felch is a little upset that his paw is now useless, and he didn't pay into his medical plan. So yeah.
Or maybe
Hardly.
HR was like, how did this happen? Well, my boss hit me with an axe. Did you do anything to provoke it? I mean, I tried to kill a baby, but I mean, that happens to everyone, right?
Yeah, Ashleg is like, yeah, I'm not even touching that. Like,
Nope, you're on.
here's a Band-Aid. Have use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no sympathy for Felch whatsoever.
Yep. So, yeah.
And then there's like keeping with we're definitely in the goofy name zone now because we got Grobait is another one of the villains.
Sounds
Grobate.
like a knockoff Pokemon.
Sonny used knife. It was super effective.
Grobate faints.
Grobite did a lot more than faint. So yes, we get back to Redwall, and yeah, they're at a feast, and yeah, food porn.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
and I was so happy I ate dinner right before reading this chapter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I love the Jolly Dibbins choir. They
Yes.
are adorable.
And Egbert makes up a very rude song about his grandpa. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, dude, that's your grandpa.
And even his grandpa's like, yeah, he's got a talent for rhyming.
Yeah.
I really liked it though when Boo Rab was like, all right, everyone, get ready. What? And then the entire choir goes, what?
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see that Redwall has liberal arts in part of
Yeah.
their education.
There we
Yes.
go.
Something that's better than Hogwarts. No, it's one of my sticking points in the Harry Potter franchise is we do not see any kind of wizard liberal arts.
Or
Like,
therapy.
where do these kids learn to write, to critically think through information, and so on and so forth?
Also, they need therapists. Every single one of them needs a therapist. Where are the therapists?
So I'm glad in between all the parent killing and things like that, we can have some cute moments.
Yeah.
Oh, Boorab challenges Drog to, I guess, if it was modern, it'd be a rat battle or something.
Epic rat battles of Mossflower. Rab. There.
And I mean,
diss track.
Boorab sings a rather great song praising the food, but then poor mole Brawl is an evil, evil mole for picking on such a poor defenseless hare by just gently nudging a cart filled with pastries and pasties and stuff. And he quickly finishes the song before going and practically diving at the cart to just consume its contents.
Yes, and then all the Divins are like, "Ooh, that looks like fun. Let's dive on our own food. Woohoo!"
Well,
Yeah.
imitation is the sincerest form of flattery,
Yeah.
or in this case, fattery.
Yeah. And Sister Alkanet is like not having any of it, and then one of the others is like, just let them have fun. They're kids.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'm not cleaning any of that up. And then like this very kind mole wife is like, I'll take care of it. Just shut up and eat.
Actually, it was a male in the book.
Oh,
In
was
the
it?
audiobook. Yeah.
Oh. Oops.
Sister Alkanet is basically everything that I didn't like about Viola when she grew up, just
Ooh.
minus all the extra flouncing and bustles.
Without the added like kindness that Viola displayed sometimes.
Yes.
Like,
And also, like, Viola went through a lot when she was a kid. We don't, as far as we could tell, Alkanet has just kind of sat in Redwall for all her life. So at least Viola had, like, outside of Redwall life experience and became a bit of a badass.
yeah, she's sort of like, Alkanet is sort of like a Sister Cicely. Like, they're very similar to me. Like, just
Yeah.
kind of older,
Yeah,
stuffy, very persnickety, which is a great word.
Yes.
I
If
like
you
that.
take Sister Cicely, stick her in one of the cellar barrels and ferment her for, I don't know, a Krega's lifetime and pop her out, then she turns into an Alkanet.
Oh, good to know. Let's
She's
not try that
fermented
experiment
Sicily.
again. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I mean, we then get. Krega notices that Mira and Forlorn are both missing, and goes into the kitchens and finds them crying, and we get more
Yeah.
sadness. And this whole first section of the book is just a roller coaster of emotion.
Yeah. And again, this is
Absolutely.
very realistically, even when Mira was like, I'm going to do all my crying now and then I won't cry ever again. Yeah, that's not, I mean, you lost your dad and your brother, so feel free to cry.
Yeah, we do get a pretty good message for kids to hear. Don't be ashamed to
Oh,
weep.
yeah.
It's right to grieve.
Yep.
Tears are only water, and flowers, trees, and fruit cannot grow without water. There
Yeah.
also has to be sunlight because a wounded heart heals in time.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for reading that. I was going to if someone
Yeah.
else didn't, but like that touched me when I first read it before I lost people. But reading it, after last year I lost my best friend and my grandfather. Like it just it gets better every time. Like that message is so good for a kid's book.
Mhm.
I mean, I have a personal way of grief that when I'm faced with something like this, I just find a song of any and I wear it out. Like it's on repeat for days, weeks, whatever it has to be, and just until I can recover. And to this day, I mean, I still have those songs around, and every time they come on, I'm not grieving anymore. It actually makes me happy to hear that again.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
for my grandfather was the Birds' Turn, Turn, Turn.
Mm.
And for, a friend's mom, not terribly long ago, maybe about a year, it was Little Wonders from
Nice.
Meet the Robinsons. Yeah.
Oh, that song
Yeah.
is so sad.
Yeah.
It's
Music-
happy, but it's so sad.
Music can be a powerful tool.
Oh yeah.
It really can.
So, what else? And the feast goes on, and this is just a pleasant scene because it shows the Abbey doing what you do with grief. You acknowledge it, but you find ways to move on.
I love how like all the Redwallers kind of rallied around them and thanked them for the feast and was like, here, we're all going to cheer you up and sing you a song and make you feel better. And Rob gives Broggle a look like, if you mess up the words, I will personally throw you in the pond.
Yeah.
Or not Broggle. What's his name?
Egbert.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I meant. That's not what I said, but that's what I meant.
Yeah, no, so it was a nice way, like they cap off this book like kind of with a lot of peace and cheer and things like that. And I like how when Mira and Philorn reemerge from Redwall, everyone like holds up like their glasses to them and celebrates them.
Yeah.
And we get to leave on a comedic moment too.
Yes.
It's like little Gundle the mole offers Mira his beaker to drink from, and she's about to accept it when Burab comes over. It's like, my turn to pitch some peace drink, old chap. What?
Yes.
And he goes off claiming that he's been poisoned. And Gundle's like, what's up with him? It's just my favorite drink. Hot root soup, dandelion wine, mint tea with roasted chestnuts in it.
It's like good. That is totally something a kid would want to drink.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My sister and I, my dad used to manage a Golden Corral, those big buffets with like everything. And we used to go to the soda machine and put every single kind of soda in the soda glass and think it was like the best thing ever.
Whenever I would get a Slurpee from 7-Eleven, I would just mix every single flavor in there.
Yep.
Isn't that what Pringles is doing now as their ad campaign? Is like, stack all the different flavors together. Make your own new flavors.
That's kind of what
weird.
Jelly Belly does with the jelly beans, where they're like, here's our recipes, where you eat like 2 or 3 of them at a time, and it's supposed to make like a different flavor.
So yeah, that's part 1. It's a short start. Like we said, it's only 5 chapters and a prologue, but it's a good start. We get our core characters established. We get what the Jessica are, why Sony Rath wants this kid, why he takes this kid, and why his own major officers kind of hate him.
Yep.
And we get Redwall losing a father and son and basically dealing with it. Even if I'm still critical that the fact that they don't have an abbot or abbess.
I'm sure that won't be resolved by the end of the book, though.
Oh, of course
No,
not.
of course not.
Abbotless. Abbotless.
Leaderless.
That just leads to our next section, which we'll cover on the next episode. And yeah, we're going to see 15 seasons go by before we pick up into the bigger sections of 2 and 3.
Let's do the time warp again.
It's
just a step to the left.
And then a step to the right. I don't remember the lyric. I knew where you were going with it, but I was like, the words in my brain.
Yeah, I know what you're. But yeah,
Marty, we have to go back.
If you're wondering, by the way, why Drew seemed to drop off, we got a message from him in the middle of recording, and apparently he lost internet. So
his internet exploded.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely bring him on for the next one.
It's
So-
his dad is grooving.
That being said, you can find us on recorderonthewall.com is our primary website. We are listed on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play Podcasts, on Spotify as distribution points, or you can always download the episodes directly from the website. We have a Twitter, rotwpod@gmail.com. That is not our Twitter, that is our Gmail. Our Twitter.
Just take the @gmail.com off, and that's the Twitter.
What she said. Twitter. We are active, although I did kind of forget to post for. I didn't post links everywhere for this round. I'll get back to it when the trivia episode comes out. We are active on the Red Wolf forums and the R. Eulalia subreddit. And I'm trying to talk to other podcasts right now to possibly do me go on their shows and have a good time there.
Yay.
Did I miss anything?
I do not believe so.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
You got
And
it
I
all,
don't-
and you got it now.
I don't do it in one breath like Jeremy does. Sorry.
My lung power is unstoppable.
So, that being said, I'm Pete. Baba Abbott.
I'm Jeremy, wacky voices guy.
I'm
I'm
Matthias.
Oh no!
Let's try that again. Matthias, you go first.
I'm Matthias.
I'm Katie.
And the voice you are not hearing is Drew. We'll
Hey,
be
if
back
he imitated me last time, can I imitate him this time? I'm Drew.
Yeah.